Hi, welcome to my channel, Among Stouts. My name is Samantha, and in today's video, I am going to be sharing with you guys 3 of the things that I make every single fall season. So one of them is something that I make for my entire family to stay healthy throughout the fall season and the sick season. And the 2 other things that I'm going to make are the most requested recipes from my kids, and it's like as soon as September hits or as soon as the school year starts, my kids, like clockwork, are begging me for these 2 specific recipes. So I will go ahead and share with you what these recipes are going to be. They are incredibly easy, incredibly simple, and I will show you what they are, and then from there we will go ahead and get to making these recipes. So first and foremost here, I am going to show you guys how I make my elderberry syrup, and I use my Instant Pot to make this. So I initially used to follow a recipe 100% to the T, and then over the years I kind of had just started doing things my own way, adding the things that I like in it and how my kids drink it best. And so I have the elderberries here, and I just order these off of Amazon every year. And then I have cinnamon sticks, lemon, and local honey. So this is the local honey that I'm going to be using that we have on hand. So that is the first recipe I will show you guys. And then next I have pumpkin pancakes. And over the years I make them a super simple way, which is like this, or I've made them from scratch. But since we have quite a few of these boxes here of this Pioneer brand pancake mix, it's usually pretty easy for me to just mix this up and then add the pumpkin to that. My kids already like the flavoring and the sweetness of this pancake, so literally just adding in some of this pumpkin puree is all I have to do, and they love it. And so lastly, I'm going to be showing you guys how I make my super easy, 100% kid approved crock pot applesauce. So here I have Pink Lady apples. I actually usually make this with Honeycrisp apples. They are our favorite apples, and they are honestly the best in this recipe, but we do like Pink Ladies when Honeycrisp aren't readily available. They aren't quite out yet, and they're still really expensive if you can find them. So I'll probably wait a couple more weeks to a month until those come down in price. And so then I'm going to add cinnamon, some vanilla, and then raw unfiltered honey. And I'm also going to use the other half of this lemon from the elderberries to put in the applesauce. So there you go, guys. I'm going to be showing you guys my elderberry syrup, pumpkin pancakes, and our applesauce recipe that I put in the crock pot. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these 3 super simple, super easy recipes. Okay guys, so we are going to first start with doing the elderberry syrup because this one is super quick and super easy to get thrown into the Instant Pot, and then it does all of the work for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump in 2 cups of water, filtered water, into my Instant Pot. Okay, so now I'm going to put in 1 cup of the elderberries. And then I'm going to throw in, I actually really like it to be really cinnamony. So you only really need to throw in 1 cinnamon stick, but usually I throw in 2. So I'm going to throw in 2 cinnamon sticks. And so adding the cinnamon sticks is going to be good for adding in flavor, but also because of all of the health benefits that you can get out of cinnamon. And I'm not going to go into that right now, nor am I going to go into the health benefits of elderberry syrup because I'm not a medical professional, but this is what my kids and I drink every season leading up into the sick season, the flu season, so that we can boost up our immune systems and not get sickly. And so then I'm actually going to go grab my zester because I'm going to zest up this lemon, and then I'm going to just throw a whole chunk, a whole half of a chunk into there. Okay, so I have my zester, and I'm just going to go ahead and zest up this lemon, and then I will cut half of it and use half of it in here and then the other half in the applesauce. And again, with the lemon, it's in there for, I mean, it gives your syrup flavor, but the majority is you're going to get a lot of the health benefits from the lemon, especially from the parts of the peel that have a lot of good things for you that work well with your vitamins and minerals that you are likely already taking daily. So I'm going to get all of that zest in there. All of that vitamin C is really good for us during the flu season. So I cut half and I'm going to throw this half of it into here. And then I'm not going to actually measure this out. I never really do. But I'm going to dump in, if you want to measure, probably about a 1/4 cup of honey. However, you're not going to add the honey in until after this is all done. So I'm just going to get my honey ready. So at the end, once my syrup has cooled down, that is when I will add in the honey, and I will show that process with you guys later. And the reason why I choose honey is because I don't want to add in the extra sugars into my elderberry syrup. So the honey is a way, one, to flavor it, but also me and my kids struggle with seasonal allergies. So getting a really good local raw honey that is local to you is going to be good with helping you fight those seasonal allergies. And also honey has a lot of other good health benefits for helping to boost your immune system throughout the flu season. I'm making, I think this is not going to fill up my jar. Usually I double this to fill up this whole jar here, but for the purpose of the video, it'll probably fill up here and we'll see how it goes. But these are the jars that I use to fill up our elderberry syrup, and then I store them in our fridge. So these I just get at IKEA, and they have like this little plastic cork stopper, and they seal up pretty nicely. So I like these. I've used these for the last couple years and they're really good. And so now I will show you what it looks like in my pot. So here is what it all looks like in my pot. I have my cinnamon sticks, my elderberries, water, and my lemon. And so I'm going to get this plugged in and show you guys what I do to set this for the settings. Okay guys, so here is my Instant Pot plugged in. I'm going to grab the lid, put that on, make sure you have this in the sealed. So that's venting, so make sure it's turned on to the sealing position. And then I'm going to come here and I'm going to hit manual and take that down to, we'll do 12. I usually do between 10 and 15. And then if I need to let it simmer to reduce, I'll do that. So now it is just going to come to pressure, and I will show you guys what it looks like once this part is done. Okay guys, so while the elderberry syrup is coming up to pressure and doing its thing in the Instant Pot, I am going to go ahead and get started prepping and then starting the applesauce. So I actually make the applesauce in my crock pot. So I'm going to go ahead and get these apples washed, and then I will get them peeled and cut up, and I will take you guys through the process. Okay guys, so now that I have all of those apples peeled and sliced and in my crock pot, I ended up using that whole bag of apples because they were pretty small. So I usually use between 7 and 10 depending on the size of the apples. And those were actually, like I said, pretty small. And I could probably stand to have about 3 to 5 more, but I mean, all I had was that. So what I'm going to do now is squeeze in this lemon. I'm trying not to let any of the seeds fall out, which I got one in there. So I squeezed in that half of lemon, and then one thing to know about me is I don't like to measure things out. I'm a terrible baker because of that. So I guess you could use about 1/4 to half a teaspoon of vanilla. I always feel like people use very little vanilla, and I always add like a ton more than what any recipe calls for. So I'm probably, and how I don't want to like dump the whole bottle in, so I just use the cap that it comes with. And I'm just going to pour probably 2 to 3 of these little caps, which is more than, well, since I only have this little bit of apples, I'm probably going to do 2. So that much vanilla. And then I'm going to just cover the top of it with cinnamon. And so that's what I do, and I'll give you a close-up what it looks like. So there, I just cover the top of that with cinnamon. And so you could totally use sugar if you wanted to. I tend to sweeten everything with either honey or maple syrup if I use a sweetener. So I don't even know that I have sugar on hand. If I did, because I have made it with sugar in the past, I would just, the same way that I put this all over the top, I would do that with the sugar. So again, I'm not going to measure out the honey. And this is one that I can buy locally at Costco. It's the Texas Raw and Filtered Honey. It isn't particularly local to where I live. And so I use this for everyday cooking, but when I'm making my syrup, you saw the other honey that I use, and that, like, that's the reason, is because that one is, it's just a local place here that we can go and get it, and that family, they're the ones that Bee Farm, I think it is, and so they have that. And so I'm just going to probably go down and back 3 times or 4 with the honey. And this is what it looks like in the crock pot. That is that. And so while I was peeling and cutting the apples, the Instant Pot did finish. It's kind of, you know, naturally releasing right now, so I'm gonna let out a quick release here in a second. So I'm going to throw this into the other part of the crock pot where it cooks it, and I'm just going to set it on high for 4 hours. It won't take that long to cook it, but that way it's just in there, and if it does happen to take longer, it's already got the time set. So you just have to let it release until that silver knob thing flattens, and then it'll be ready for you to open it up. So there we go. Now we can open. And one thing I will note, when you're making this at home, the elderberry has a very, very woodsy, earthy smell. I like it. My kids don't usually seem to mind it, but my husband thinks it smells absolutely disgusting. He's actually not here right now, so it should be interesting when he walks in the door. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stir this up and see if I want to reduce it any further or not. So it looks like the liquid did reduce pretty far down. I'm going to have to squeeze these elderberries pretty good to get more liquid out. And I actually don't think that I got enough to even put this halfway. So I'm going to show you the other jars that I use for when I make a smaller amount. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off so that it is no longer hot. And I'm just going to leave this to sit here and cool down for just a little bit until I can touch it, until I can touch this without it burning me. And then I will take it out and and then start squeezing out the elderberries into a bowl with the liquid and let it cool further before I add the honey. So I wanted to show you guys the other jars that I like to use whenever I don't have a large amount of syrup to put in these bottles. I will just grab a mason jar, and I have this one that has the white lid, but most of my other ones just have the silver like canning lid, and I'll just put them in here, and then I just store them in the fridge that way because, you know, again, they have great sealing, and so the syrup won't go bad on me in the fridge. As long as you have something that can keep it airtight, that's going to be your best option of what you want to store it in as far as a container or jar. So this is still cooling. So while this elderberry syrup continues to cool and the applesauce is doing its thing, I'm going to clean up some of my mess here, and then I will show you guys how I put together super easy, super simple, super quick pumpkin pancake. Okay guys, while I'm letting the elderberry syrup cool down before I strain out those berries, and while the applesauce is cooking, I'm going to go ahead and get started on making a batch of these pumpkin pancakes. And earlier, whenever I mentioned the ingredients, I forgot one of the more important ones, which is I always add in this pumpkin pie spice. And it just already has like the cinnamon, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice added to it. So it's really easy and compact to have all of that in one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting these mixed up. So I did 2 cups of the pancake mix, and then I'm going to do half of the can of pumpkin. And then I'm just going to sprinkle this on until I feel like it's enough. So then it looks like this. And then now that I have all of that in the bowl, all I'm going to do now is start to add water. And I'm just going to gradually add water until it gets to the consistency of what I think a pancake batter should be before I start putting them on the griddle. Okay guys, so I got that mixed up to a consistency that I like. Again, I think I used a little more than a cup of water to go in here, and that's just what it looks like there. And so I'm going to start spooning this onto the griddle and getting these pancakes cooked up. So I did flip these pancakes, and as you can see, the way that I do them, because of I go based off consistency or whatever, they are thicker, so it's like a treat. These are pancakes that whenever I make them for my kids, they beg and beg and beg for them because it's like eating little pumpkin cakes for breakfast. Okay guys, so I am done with that small batch of pancakes, of pumpkin pancakes that I made. They smell absolutely delicious and I think that my kids are going to love them. So usually what I will do is I make a much bigger batch of these. Again, I just dump in the pancake mix. I put in the pumpkin puree, the seeds, and the pumpkin pie spice. And then I just add in water gradually until it gets to the consistency that I'm looking for. And then I will make them, and I try to make usually enough to be able to have some for the kids to eat the morning that I make them, as well as enough to put into the freezer to last a few days or however long, so that I'm not making them daily for them, so that they can just grab some as they want them. But this is what I have for today, and I'm actually going to go now walk over to the sink and show you guys what I do to strain out the elderberries and then get that syrup put in there and get it bottled up. So what I have here is a strainer and a bowl that I'm going to use to catch the liquid, and then I have the elderberry syrup in here. The other tip that I have for you guys is to use gloves. The elderberry syrup can definitely stain your hands, and your hands will stay stained for a while if you squeeze these out with your bare hands. So I always recommend using gloves. And so from here, I'm just going to now dump this all out into the strainer. And if you don't have gloves on hand, in the past I have actually just used a spatula, because what you want to do on this part is I'm going to take out the lemon and the cinnamon sticks, and then you just want to squeeze the juice that's still in these berries out. And so in the past what I've done is I've just used a spatula and used it to go around and press into the strainer and get them out that way. But if you do have gloves, it is so much easier to just squeeze with all your might and get as much of that juice out that you can. And I just keep doing it over and over until there's no more juice coming out. And these little tiny berries, they hold in so much juice. So just keep squeezing and squeezing and squeezing until you don't see any more coming out. So I think that I have gotten all that I'm going to get out, as well as a hand cramp. So I am going to go ahead and be done with that. And this is a ball of squeezed out elderberry. So now I'm going to take off my gloves and wash up, because it usually gets here on my skin and I don't want that staining. And also, if you are like me and you have these white countertops, it will stain them. But I have found that for any red stain, or any stain actually on these countertops, alcohol, just plain old rubbing alcohol, will get it right out. So don't get too nervous if your white countertops get stained with the syrup. And so there is all of the liquid that we got out. So we got out a little bit more than I thought that I would. We'll see how many jars I can fill up, or how many small jars. So we'll start with this one. And I like to get every last drop that I can get into my container. And there you have it, guys. Here are 2 jars of elderberry syrup. Okay guys, so I have got the elderberry syrup jarred up, and as you can see, I was able to get 2 of these smaller jars of syrup. So it comes out to about a little more than 8 ounces, so probably about 9 9.5 ounces of syrup. And that is with using 1 cup of elderberries and 2 cups of water. And so usually what I like to do is I like to make one giant batch at once and fill up this jar with it. So this, I believe, takes maybe a triple, or like 2.5 to triple the recipe, and I can fill up one of those jars. But this is perfect for us to have to start off with. As we enter in the season, we're not going to take nearly as much because we'll do just a normal maintenance dose. If we get sick, or if we start to feel anything, or if there's a lot more sickness in the air that's going around in our community, then I will probably start to make the larger batches so that we can take a more immune boosting dose with like a double dose or something like that per day. And so that is how we make our elderberry syrup. And we have our pumpkin pancakes. And once the applesauce is ready for me to show you guys, I will be sure to get back on here and show you guys how that turned out. Okay guys, let's do a little status checkup on the applesauce. As you can see, it still has technically an hour and 20 minutes left to go. But I can already start to smush some of it up. And if you look down in there, you can see some of the liquid that is there. It needs a little bit longer. I don't know that it needs the full hour and 20 minutes, but a little bit longer because some of the apples aren't smashing. So once it's fully ready, all of the apples will smash up kind of like how these are, and there will be a little bit more liquid. So I will keep letting this go, and we will check back in on it here in a little while. Okay guys, so I actually got started on dinner, so it ended up finishing out the time. But as you can see, it's much easier to just finish smashing. So I'm just going to mash this up, and fogging up the camera. So I'm just going to finish smashing this up and letting it cool, and then I will put it in some containers. And you could totally go in with like an immersion blender or something of that sort and make it incredibly smooth, but I've always just smashed it or mashed it with a spoon, and my kids don't mind it being a little chunky. Okay guys, the applesauce is done, and I'm just waiting for it to cool down so I can put it in a container. And when I was doing that, I realized that I actually never added my honey to my elderberry syrup, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that now, which is totally fine if you jar it up and then do it that way so that you can actually control how much honey you have in each container. Or what I normally do is right when it cools, before I jar it up, I just dump some in the bowl and I whisk it up that way, and then I will jar it. But this way too is totally fine. So let me just show you guys. I got that off, and I'm just going to eyeball it. As you can see here, it's not all the way up to this lip here, so I'm going to add honey and not let it pass that lip. So it's probably about maybe a full tablespoon and a half-ish. And then I will do the second one. And like I said, adding the natural raw honey that you can get from a local bee farmer is going to be incredibly amazing to your body if you suffer from seasonal allergies, and again for your body for immune boosting reasons. So that's about how much honey I use in each one. So I'm going to cap that, and I'm just going to mix it up just a little bit. It actually works better when you shake it up, because you don't want your honey to settle on the bottom. All right, I got those stirred up, so now I'm going to reseal them. All right, so now I got those sealed, and what I'm going to do, just to make sure I get all the rest of that honey, is just shake them like crazy before I put them in the fridge. One of the reasons why I like to actually put the honey in before I cool it down in the fridge is because once you cool your syrup down in the fridge and you put the honey in once it's already cold, it makes it harder for your honey to run through all of the syrup smoothly, and it'll get stuck kind of at the bottom. And then it's kind of, I mean, it gets pointless because whenever you're getting it out of the fridge, anytime that you need to get a dose of it, all of your honey's down there, and you really don't want that. You want every dose that you get to have some of that honey in it. So don't be like me, and remember to put your honey in before you put it in the fridge. It's totally fine to jar it up first. You can control the honey, but definitely don't let it get cold in the fridge first. All right, guys, we have all eaten dinner. This is all cooled down. As you can see here, I got it pretty smooth, most of the chunks out. Like I already said, my kids don't mind having some chunks in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and spoon this into this container here and then store it in the fridge. Okay, so this is how much applesauce I got out of those apples. Like I said, even my kids noticed that that bag of apples didn't make as much as we are used to getting. Out of 8 to 10 apples, that was 10. And usually I have a container that's double the size and I'm able to fill that up. But this is what we have, and so this will be a part of their lunch or breakfast for the week. And there is the applesauce. Okay guys, there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video where I shared 3 of our favorite recipes that I like to make as soon as we hit the fall season. I showed you our elderberry syrup, our crock-pot applesauce, and our pumpkin pancakes. If you guys enjoy these kinds of videos, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here as a part of my community. And if you guys have any suggestions for other things that you would like for me to share, please let me know that in the comments as well. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.